r/malicious compliance stepsister got me fired from restaurant, so I ruined her Christmas. You're fired. Effective immediately. The words hit me like a slap across the face as I stood in the cramped office behind Romano's kitchen, still clutching my order pad from the lunch rush. Steam from the dishwasher mixed with the smell of marinara sauce, creating this suffocating cloud that suddenly felt like it was choking me. Wait, what? I stammered, looking between my manager Rick and the stack of printed photos spread across his desk. I don't understand. Rick's face was stone cold as he tapped the pictures with his finger. Multiple complaints, Maya. Customers saying you were rude, slow, unprofessional. And we have photographic evidence of you on your phone during shifts, ignoring tables, making faces at customers behind their backs. I leaned forward to get a better look at the photos, my heart dropping into my stomach. There I was, captured in what looked like damning moments, checking my phone while a family waited at table 12, rolling my eyes as an elderly couple studied their menus, appearing to ignore a customer trying to flag me down. Except none of it was what it seemed. Rick, you know me. I've been here 8 months, I've never had a single complaint. Until this week, he cut me off. We received 5 separate complaints about you in the past 4 days. 5, Maya. All describing the same unprofessional behavior that's documented right here in these photos. My hands were shaking as I picked up one of the pictures. The angle was weird, like someone had taken it from across the dining room and zoomed in. In it, I was looking at my phone while a family sat at a nearby table. What the photo didn't show was that I was checking the time because the kitchen was running behind on their order, and I was calculating how long they'd been waiting so I could offer them a free appetizer. Who took these? I asked, though a sick feeling was already spreading through my chest. Anonymous tip. Someone who cares about the reputation of this restaurant. Rick stood up and crossed his arms. Look, Maya, you're a good kid, but we can't have this kind of behavior. Especially not during the holiday season when we're packed every night. But these photos are taken out of context. If you just let me explain. There's nothing to explain. Clean out your locker and turn in your apron. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab those photos and rip them into tiny pieces. Instead, I just stood there like an idiot, watching my entire financial stability crumble in real time. This job wasn't just some pocket money gig, I needed every single shift to make my spring tuition payment. Without Romano's, I'd have to move back home and transfer to community college. The drive back to my tiny studio apartment was a blur of rage and panic. I kept replaying Rick's words, studying those photos in my mind, trying to figure out who the hell would want to sabotage me like this. I barely had any enemies. I kept my head down, worked hard, minded my own business. It wasn't until I was sitting on my secondhand couch, staring at the stack of bills on my coffee table, that my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Heard you got fired. Maybe now you'll have more time to spend with family face blowing a kiss. My blood turned to ice water. There was only one person who would send a message like that. One person who knew I'd been fired before I told anyone. One person who had access to Romano's during my shifts because she'd been studying there every day this week. My stepsister Chloe. I stared at that text message until my eyes burned, reading it over and over like the words might somehow rearrange themselves into something less devastating. But there it was, proof that Chloe knew about my firing before I'd breathed a word to anyone. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through my recent memories of Romano's, piecing together a puzzle I should have seen coming. Chloe had been showing up almost every day this week, claiming she needed a quiet place to study for finals. She'd always pick a corner table with a perfect view of the entire dining room, nursing a single Diet Coke for hours while I worked my ass off during the holiday rush. I'd actually felt sorry for her. Our parents had been putting so much pressure on her lately about college applications and maintaining her 4.0 GPA. When she asked if she could study at my restaurant, I thought it was sweet that she wanted to spend time near me. God, I was such an idiot. My phone rang, interrupting my spiral of rage. Mom's contact photo filled the screen, a selfie of her and Dad from their anniversary dinner last month, both of them grinning like teenagers. Maya, honey, Chloe just told us what happened at work. Mom's voice was dripping with that careful sympathy that made my skin crawl. We're so sorry you're going through this. She told you. I managed to choke out. She saw it on your Instagram story, Mom explained, though I definitely hadn't posted anything about getting fired. Listen, sweetheart, these things happen. Maybe it's a sign that you should come home for winter break and we can figure out a better plan for next semester. There it was. The trap Chloe had laid out so perfectly. Get me fired, force me to move home, make me financially dependent on our parents again. And Mom was walking right into it. I didn't post anything on Instagram, I said carefully. Oh. Mom paused. Well, maybe Chloe heard it from somewhere else. The important thing is that we're here for you. Your room is exactly how you left it, and you know your father and I would be thrilled to have you home. I could practically hear Chloe smirking in the background. She'd probably been planning this conversation, coaching Mom on exactly what to say to reel me back in. I need to go, I said abruptly. Maya, wait. I hung up and immediately opened Instagram to check my story. Nothing there, obviously. But when I switched to Chloe's profile, I found exactly what I was looking for. She'd posted a story an hour ago, a black screen with white text that said, "Prayers for my big sis going through a tough time. Two Hearts family is everything." The manipulative little snake had created her own narrative. Now all her friends would think she was this caring, supportive sister, while simultaneously alerting our parents to my situation, without directly admitting she knew details she shouldn't know. I screenshot the story, then started scrolling back through her recent posts with fresh eyes. Chloe had always been careful about her social media image, honor roll student, volunteer at the animal shelter, perfect daughter. But now I was looking for cracks in the facade. And I was starting to find them. That photo of her at the library last Tuesday. She'd been at Romano's, filming me. The post about grinding hard on college essays. Posted at 2 a.m. on a school night when she should have been asleep. The picture of her report card showing straight A's. The date stamp looked weird, like it had been edited. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. Can't wait to have my big sister home for Christmas. We have so much catching up to do. Smiling face with horns. Game on, Chloe. I spent the next 2 hours digging through Chloe's digital footprint like a detective working a cold case. What I found made my stomach churn with a mixture of rage and grudging admiration for how calculated she'd been. The Instagram posts were just the beginning. Her Snapchat location history told a completely different story than her carefully curated feed. While she'd been posting about study sessions at the library, her location showed she'd been at Romano's every single day this week during my busiest shifts. The timestamps lined up perfectly with the moments captured in those damning photos Rick had shown me. But the real smoking gun was buried in her Twitter likes. 3 days ago, she'd liked a tweet about how to submit anonymous complaints to restaurant management. 2 weeks before that, she'd engaged with a thread about workplace harassment documentation. This wasn't some impulsive sibling rivalry, this was premeditated destruction of my livelihood. My phone rang again. This time it was Dad. Maya, your mother told me what happened. I want you to know that your education is our priority, and we'll figure out the financial situation together. Dad, I don't need. I've already looked into it, he continued, his voice taking on that authoritative tone he used when he thought he was solving problems. Community college isn't a step backward, it's just a different path. You could live at home, save money, and transfer to a 4-year school later. Chloe's actually excited about having you around more. I bet she was. Did Chloe suggest this plan? Well, she mentioned how worried she's been about you working so hard and stressed about money all the time. She's very mature for 17, Maya. Sometimes I think she understands family priorities better than. He trailed off, but the implication hung in the air like smoke. Better than me. Better than the stepdaughter who insisted on independence instead of accepting help. Better than the kid who moved out at 18 instead of staying home and playing happy family. I have to go, Dad. I'll call you later. After I hung up, I sat in the growing darkness of my apartment, watching the sun set through my single window. Chloe hadn't just gotten me fired, she'd manipulated our parents into believing this was somehow for my own good. She'd positioned herself as the concerned little sister while painting me as the stubborn, struggling college student who needed to come home and accept reality. The worst part was that it was working. I could already feel the financial walls closing in. My rent was due in 2 weeks, and my savings account had maybe enough to cover groceries until Christmas. Without Romano's, I'd have to find another job fast, and good serving positions were scarce in December when holiday hiring focused on retail. Another text popped up from Chloe's number. By the way, saw your apartment when I helped Dad drop off your birthday present last month. So cozy. But probably expensive for someone unemployed grimacing face. That message made me freeze. She'd been in my apartment. She'd seen my bills on the coffee table, my work schedule stuck to the refrigerator, the acceptance letter from State University pinned to my bulletin board. She'd been gathering intelligence for weeks, maybe months. I was about to text back something I'd probably regret when my phone buzzed with a notification from Venmo. Someone had sent me $50 with a note, for my amazing big sis. Early Christmas present. Christmas tree red heart. The sender was Chloe, of course. $50, just enough to seem generous to anyone who might see it, but a laughably small amount considering she just cost me my entire income. It was the kind of performative gesture that would make our parents coo about how thoughtful and caring she was. But Chloe had made one critical mistake. She'd gotten overconfident. And she'd forgotten that I knew all her secrets too. I rejected the Venmo payment and started making a list. Not just any list, a detailed inventory of every lie Chloe had told our parents in the past year. Every secret I'd accidentally stumbled across during family dinners, every inconsistency I'd noticed but kept my mouth shut about because I was trying to be a good big sister. Chloe thought she was the only one who could play chess while everyone else was stuck playing checkers. But she'd forgotten that I'd been watching her moves for a lot longer than she'd been watching mine. First item, her grades. Those straight A's she'd been flashing around. I'd seen her real report card last month when she left her backpack open at Thanksgiving dinner. 3 B's and a C+ in AP Chemistry. She'd been using some photo editing app to change the grades before sending screenshots to our parents. Second, her college applications. She'd been telling Mom and Dad that she was applying to Ivy League schools and had already received encouraging feedback from admissions counselors. But I'd overheard her on the phone with her friend Jessica 2 weeks ago, panicking because she'd missed 3 application deadlines and hadn't even started her personal essays. Third, and most explosive, the boyfriend our parents didn't know about. Tyler Morrison was 22, worked at the tattoo parlor downtown, and had been sneaking into Chloe's bedroom window for the past 3 months. I only knew because I'd caught them together when I came home unexpectedly to grab some winter clothes. Chloe had begged me not to tell, swearing it wasn't serious and that she'd break up with him before Christmas. Except Tyler had been posting Instagram stories of them together as recently as yesterday. Pictures of Chloe in his car, wearing his jacket, looking very much like a girl in a serious relationship with an older guy. The kind of relationship that would make our conservative parents lose their absolute minds. My phone buzzed with another message from Chloe. Mom says you're being dramatic about the job thing. Maybe if you weren't always so stressed about money, you'd be happier. Just saying, 2 hearts. The sheer audacity of it made my vision blur with rage. She'd systematically destroyed my financial stability and was now gaslighting me about being stressed over money. As if concern about paying rent and tuition was some character flaw instead of basic adult responsibility. But this message told me something important. She was getting impatient. Overconfident criminals always made mistakes when they thought they'd already won. I started screenshotting everything. Her location history showing she'd been at places she'd lied about. The timestamps that proved she was with Tyler when she told our parents she was studying late at school. The Twitter activity that revealed her real interests versus the wholesome image she projected at home. My laptop battery was dying, so I plugged it in and kept digging. Chloe's digital footprint was like an archaeological site. The deeper I went, the more evidence I found of a completely different person than the one our parents thought they knew. She'd been vaping, based on her Snapchat story views from vape shop accounts. She'd been sneaking out to parties, documented and tagged photos on other people's Instagram accounts. And most damning of all, she'd been forging our mom's signature on school forms, including several truancy excuses for days she'd skipped to hang out with Tyler. The plan was crystallizing in my mind as I worked. Chloe had chosen to destroy my Christmas by getting me fired right before the holidays. She'd manipulated our parents into believing I was irresponsible and needed to come home. But Christmas morning was still a week away. And I had 7 days to return the favor. My phone rang, Mom again. This time, I was ready for her. Hi Mom, I answered, forcing my voice to sound defeated and tired. Oh honey, you sound terrible. Listen, I've been thinking about what happened, and I want you to know that we don't see this as a failure. Sometimes life pushes us in directions we didn't expect. I could practically hear Chloe coaching her on this conversation. Yeah, I guess. Your father and I talked, and we want to make you an offer. Come home for Christmas break, and we'll cover your spring tuition directly. No more working during the school year, you can focus entirely on your studies. My heart actually skipped a beat. Full tuition coverage would solve all my financial problems in one stroke. It was everything I'd been working toward, handed to me on a silver platter. For a moment, I almost forgot why I was angry. That's really generous, Mom. Of course, we'd want you to transfer somewhere closer to home. Maybe State College, it's only an hour away, so you could commute and save on housing costs. Chloe suggested it, actually. She said she'd love to have study sessions together. And there was the catch. Chloe hadn't just wanted me fired and broke, she'd wanted me geographically controlled. Close enough for our parents to monitor, far enough from my current life to isolate me from the independence I built. What about my apartment lease? I asked. We'll help you break it. These things happen, sweetheart. The important thing is getting you back on track academically. Back on track. Like I'd been derailing instead of maintaining a 3.7 GPA while working 30 hours a week. Like financial independence was some rebellious phase instead of a legitimate life choice. I need to think about it, I said. Of course, but don't take too long. The spring transfer deadline is January 15th, and we'll need to submit applications soon. Oh, and Maya. Chloe wanted me to tell you she's cooking your favorite cookies for when you come home. She's been so worried about you. After hanging up, I stared at my laptop screen where Chloe's real life was spread out in browser tabs like evidence in a murder trial. The girl who was worried about me and baking my favorite cookies was the same one who'd spent weeks systematically sabotaging my livelihood. But now the stakes had gotten higher. This wasn't just about revenge anymore, my entire future was being rewritten according to Chloe's manipulation. State College was a decent school, but it wasn't where I'd planned to finish my degree. And living under our parents' roof again meant living under Chloe's influence. I was starting to realize how deep this went. The job loss was just phase 1. Chloe had orchestrated a complete restructuring of my life, positioning herself as the caring sister who'd helped bring me home. She'd probably already planned how to sabotage me at the new school too, maybe accidentally revealing some embarrassing story to new classmates, or finding ways to make me look immature compared to her high school achievements. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Parents seem excited about having you home. Hope you're not planning anything stupid. Would hate for them to see who you really are, winking face. The threat was crystal clear. Chloe was warning me that she had more ammunition if I tried to fight back. But what could she possibly have on me? I'd been the responsible one, working hard and staying out of trouble. Unless, my stomach dropped as I remembered the party at Jessica's house 2 months ago. I'd had exactly 2 beers and taken a few photos with friends. Nothing scandalous, but our parents would flip if they thought I was drinking. And if Chloe had somehow gotten hold of those photos. I quickly checked my Instagram, but the pictures were still private. Still, the message was clear. Chloe was prepared to escalate if I didn't accept defeat gracefully. But she'd just made her second critical mistake. She'd threatened me before confirming I was actually going to surrender. The threat text from Chloe was still glowing on my phone screen when I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Heavy boots, definitely not my elderly neighbor Mrs. Chin. My heart hammered as the footsteps stopped right outside my door. 3 sharp knocks echoed through my tiny studio. I crept to the peephole and nearly choked on my own breath. Tyler Morrison stood in my hallway, his sleeve of tattoos visible under his leather jacket, looking like every parent's nightmare come to life. What the hell was Chloe's secret boyfriend doing at my apartment? Maya, I know you're in there, he called out, his voice surprisingly calm. We need to talk. Every instinct screamed at me not to open that door. But curiosity won out. If Tyler was here, it meant Chloe had seriously miscalculated something. I cracked the door open, keeping the chain latch engaged. What do you want? Tyler ran a hand through his dark hair, looking genuinely uncomfortable. Look, I know this is weird, but Chloe doesn't know I'm here. Can I come in? 5 minutes, that's all I need. Against my better judgment, I let him in. He stood awkwardly in my living room, too big for the small space, his eyes scanning the apartment like he was memorizing details. Nice place, he said, then immediately shook his head. Sorry, that's not why I'm here. Listen, Chloe's been acting really strange lately. Obsessed with you, actually. She talks about you constantly, your job, your apartment, your college plans. It's intense. Okay. I crossed my arms, not sure where this was going. She asked me to do something today that made me realize she's not who I thought she was. Tyler pulled out his phone and showed me a text conversation. She wanted me to call your landlord, pretending to be a concerned neighbor, and file a noise complaint about loud parties in your apartment. My blood went cold. What? She said if you got enough complaints, they'd have grounds to evict you. Force you to move home. Tyler's expression was grim. I told her that was crazy, but she started screaming about how you were ruining her family and stealing attention from her college applications. I sank onto my couch, the full scope of Chloe's plan finally becoming clear. The job loss was just the beginning. She'd been preparing to systematically destroy every aspect of my independence. My housing, my financial stability, my ability to stay in school. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Tyler sat across from me, his leather jacket creaking. Because I have a little sister too. She's 15, and if someone was messing with her life like this, I'd want to know. He paused, studying my face. Chloe thinks she's got you cornered. She keeps saying you'll be home by New Year's and everything will go back to how it's supposed to be. How it's supposed to be. With her as the only kid getting your parents' attention and money. Tyler's voice was flat. She's convinced that once you're home and financially dependent again, your parents will see you as the failure and her as the successful one. She's been planning this since before we started dating. The room felt like it was spinning. She told you all this? She brags about it. Thinks it makes her sound smart and strategic. Tyler stood up, shoving his hands in his pockets. Look, I'm not a snitch, and I don't usually get involved in family drama. But what she's doing to you isn't just sibling rivalry, it's psychological warfare. After he left, I sat in the dark trying to process everything. Chloe hadn't just got me fired on impulse, she'd been planning this campaign for months. The fake complaints to my manager were probably just the opening move in a longer game designed to completely dismantle my adult life. But Tyler's visit had revealed something crucial. Chloe was getting sloppy. She trusted her boyfriend with details that could destroy her, assuming he'd be impressed by her manipulation instead of horrified by it. And if she was getting sloppy with Tyler, she was probably getting sloppy in other areas too. My phone buzzed with another text from her. Hope you're packing. Can't wait for our sister bonding time, 2 hearts. I smiled for the first time all day. Chloe had no idea that her boyfriend had just handed me the missing piece of her destruction. Game on indeed. I spent the rest of the evening creating what I called my Chloe dossier, a meticulously organized folder of screenshots, timestamps, and evidence that painted a very different picture of my perfect little stepsister. But as I worked, a nagging worry kept creeping into my thoughts. What if this backfired spectacularly? Chloe had spent years building her golden child image. Our parents absolutely adored her, trusted her completely. Meanwhile, I was the stepdaughter who'd moved out at 18, struggled financially, and now couldn't even keep a restaurant job. If I came forward with accusations against their precious baby, would they even believe me? Or would they see it as jealous desperation from their troubled older daughter? My phone rang at 10 p.m. Jessica's name flashed on the screen, Chloe's best friend since middle school. Maya. Oh my God, I'm so glad you answered. Jessica's voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. I need to talk to someone, and I didn't know who else to call. What's wrong? It's about Chloe. Something happened tonight that's really messing with my head. Jessica took a shuddering breath. She came over to work on college applications, except she spent the whole time on her phone, texting and laughing about something. When I asked what was so funny, she showed me these photos of you at work. My stomach clenched. What kind of photos? Pictures of you looking stressed and overwhelmed during busy shifts. She was making these cruel comments about how pathetic you looked, how you were probably going to cry when you got fired. Jessica's voice cracked. Maya, she knew you were getting fired before it happened. She kept checking the time and saying any minute now, like she was waiting for something. The confirmation hit me like a physical blow. Chloe hadn't just orchestrated my firing, she'd made entertainment out of it. She'd invited her best friend over to witness her victory. There's more, Jessica continued. She started talking about how you'd have to move home and transfer schools, how your parents would finally see that she was the responsible one. She called it putting you back in your place. Why are you telling me this? Jessica was quiet for a long moment. Because she wanted me to help with the next phase. She asked me to create fake social media accounts and leave bad reviews for any job you might apply to. Maya, she wants to make sure you can't find work anywhere in town. My hands started shaking. Chloe wasn't just trying to force me home, she was planning to make me completely unemployable. The level of malice was breathtaking. I told her no way, and she completely lost it, Jessica said. Started screaming about how everyone always takes your side, how she's tired of living in your shadow. Then she said something that really scared me. What? She said she had insurance in case you tried to fight back. Photos of you at that party at my house, but she'd somehow edited them to make it look way worse than it was. Maya, in her versions, it looks like you were completely wasted and doing things you definitely weren't doing. My blood turned to ice. Deepfake technology was getting scary good, and Chloe was tech-savvy enough to pull off convincing edits. If she showed our parents fabricated evidence of me partying irresponsibly, it would destroy any credibility I had. She's completely obsessed with ruining you, Jessica whispered. And honestly, I'm starting to think she's not entirely stable. After Jessica hung up, I sat staring at my laptop screen, feeling the walls closing in from all directions. Chloe hadn't just got me fired, she'd prepared for war. She had fake evidence ready to deploy if I fought back, plans to sabotage any new job I might find, and our parents' complete trust and support. But she'd made one crucial error, she'd shown her true face to too many people. Tyler was disgusted with her, Jessica was scared of her, and I was done being her victim. Christmas was 6 days away. Time to give Chloe a present she'd never forget. I spent the next morning creating fake social media accounts, not to sabotage anyone's job prospects like Chloe had planned, but to do some reconnaissance. If she was comfortable bragging to Jessica about her schemes, she might be getting careless in other ways too. What I found made my skin crawl. Chloe had been documenting her manipulation campaign like some twisted social experiment. Her private Twitter account, which she thought only close friends could see, was full of cryptic tweets about chess moves and teaching lessons. 3 days ago, she posted, "Sometimes you have to destroy something to save it upside down, face family first." But the real jackpot was her Snapchat. She'd been sending video updates to a group chat with 3 friends, including Jessica, calling it Operation Homecoming. I watched in horrified fascination as she narrated her visits to Romano's, explaining how she was gathering evidence of my supposed incompetence. In one video, filmed from her corner table, she whispered to the camera, "Day 3 of surveillance. Maya just dropped a plate, didn't get it on camera, but I'll tell the manager it was her attitude that caused it. She's so stressed lately, it's actually kind of pathetic." Another video showed her typing out a fake complaint email on her laptop, crafting my masterpiece. This one's going to mention how she rolled her eyes at children. Parents hate that. The casual cruelty of it was breathtaking. She turned my life into her personal entertainment, complete with running commentary for her audience. But as I kept watching, I noticed something that made my heart race with possibility. In the background of one video, I could clearly see her laptop screen. And there, in her browser tabs, was Romano's employee portal, the internal system where managers could view complaints and employee records. She hadn't just submitted fake complaints as a customer. She'd somehow hacked into the restaurant system. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Your father looked into the community college option. They have a great transfer program, and you could start in January if you want to get ahead. Chloe offered to help you move back home this weekend. Of course she did. Chloe was probably chomping at the bit to help me pack, just so she could watch me surrender in person. The image of her standing in my apartment, gloating while I boxed up my independence, made me want to put my fist through the wall. But that video had given me something better than anger. It had given me proof. I screenshot every frame where her laptop was visible, zooming in on the browser tabs and the Romano's portal interface. If I could prove she'd illegally accessed the restaurant system to plant fake complaints, it wouldn't just expose her lies, it could get her in serious legal trouble. Computer fraud was a felony, even when committed by a 17-year-old honor student. My phone rang. Rick from Romano's. Maya, I need you to come in today. Something's come up. My heart hammered. I thought I was fired. Just come in. 2 o'clock. He hung up before I could ask questions. The drive to Romano's felt like heading to my own execution. Rick was waiting in his office, but this time he wasn't alone. A woman in a business suit sat across from his desk, her laptop open and a stack of papers spread between them. Maya, this is Detective Sarah Chen from the Cybercrime Unit, Rick said, his face grim. We need to ask you some questions about your access to our employee portal. My stomach dropped to the floor. Somehow, they'd discovered the hacking, but they thought I was the one who'd done it. I've never accessed the portal from outside work, I said quickly. I barely know how to use it here. Detective Chen looked up from her laptop. We have logs showing unauthorized access from an IP address traced to your apartment building. Multiple instances over the past 2 weeks, coinciding with the complaints that got you fired. This was it. Chloe's master stroke. She hadn't just framed me for poor performance, she'd framed me for the crime she'd committed to orchestrate my firing. The fake complaints, the hacked portal, everything would trace back to me. But as I sat there, watching Detective Chen's fingers hover over her keyboard, I realized something that made me smile despite the terror clawing at my chest. Chloe had gotten too clever for her own good. And I had video evidence of her committing the exact crime they thought I'd committed. The hunter had just become the hunted. Detective Chen, I need to show you something, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite my heart pounding like a jackhammer. But first, can you tell me exactly when those unauthorized accesses occurred? She consulted her notes. December 15th through 18th, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. each day. The IP address traces to the public Wi-Fi at Romano's, but the access was definitely unauthorized. Someone used a legitimate employee login that wasn't scheduled to work those hours. My mind raced. Those were exactly the days Chloe had been studying at the restaurant. Whose employee login was used? Yours, Rick said grimly. Your username, but accessed during times when you were clearly on the floor serving tables. Which is impossible unless someone else had your credentials. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking as I navigated to the screenshots I'd taken from Chloe's Snapchat videos. I need to show you something, but you're going to think I'm crazy at first. Detective Chen leaned forward as I displayed the first screenshot, Chloe's laptop screen clearly visible in the background of her surveillance video, with Romano's employee portal open in one of her browser tabs. This is my stepsister filming herself at the restaurant during my shifts, I explained. She's been documenting what she calls Operation Homecoming, her plan to get me fired and force me to move home. Rick's face went from skeptical to thunderous as I showed them more screenshots. The timestamps on Chloe's videos matched perfectly with the unauthorized portal access Detective Chen had flagged. She's 17, Detective Chen said slowly. This level of premeditation from a high school student is unusual. There's more. I pulled up the video where Chloe was narrating her fake complaint emails. She didn't just hack the system, she documented herself doing it. She thought it was all just a game. Detective Chen was typing rapidly on her laptop. Maya, I need you to send me everything you have. If this evidence is authentic, it completely changes the scope of our investigation. Wait, Rick interrupted, looking between us with growing anger. You're telling me that a 17-year-old kid orchestrated an elaborate scheme to frame one of my employees, hack our computer system, and manipulate customer complaints. All to get her sister fired. Stepsister, I corrected. And yes. She's been planning this for months. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. Mom says you're meeting with some people today about the restaurant thing. Hope you're not trying to cause drama. Would hate for this to get complicated, face blowing a kiss. I showed the text to Detective Chen, whose eyebrows shot up. She's monitoring your activities. She's been tracking everything I do. My work schedule, my finances, even my lease terms. She had her boyfriend ready to call my landlord with fake noise complaints if the job loss wasn't enough to force me home. Rick slumped in his chair. Jesus Christ. I fired one of my best servers because of a teenager's vendetta. The fake complaints were just the tip of the iceberg, I continued, pulling up more evidence on my phone. She's been planning to sabotage any new job I might find. Her best friend called me last night because she was scared. Chloe wanted her to help create fake accounts to leave bad reviews wherever I applied. Detective Chen was quiet for a long moment, studying the screenshots and videos I'd shared. Maya, what I'm seeing here suggests your stepsister has committed multiple serious crimes. Computer fraud, identity theft, potentially conspiracy charges if we can prove she enlisted others to help. My stomach twisted. I don't want to send her to jail. I just want my life back. That may not be up to you anymore, she replied grimly. Unauthorized access to business computer systems is a federal offense. The DA's office will make the final call on charges. Rick was shaking his head in disbelief. This is insane. How did she even get your login credentials? I thought back to Thanksgiving dinner, when I complained about Romano's outdated computer system and how we all had to use the same basic password format. She probably guessed. Our system isn't exactly high security. My phone rang. Mom's contact photo filled the screen. Don't answer that, Detective Chen said quickly. Not until we've finished documenting everything. If your stepsister realizes we're onto her, she might try to destroy evidence. But as I declined the call, another text popped up from Chloe. Saw a police car at Romano's on Jessica's story. Everything okay, sis? Woman police officer. She was still watching. Still playing games. But this time, I was ready for her. The text from Chloe made Detective Chen's jaw tighten. She's monitoring social media for police activity now. This is escalating beyond typical sibling rivalry. My phone immediately started buzzing with rapid-fire texts. Maya. Hello. Why aren't you answering? Mom's worried about you. Whatever you're doing, remember I have those party photos camera with flash. Detective Chen leaned forward. What party photos? My cheeks burned as I explained Jessica's warning about the edited pictures Chloe had prepared as insurance. She created fake evidence to use against me if I fought back. Made it look like I was doing things I never did. That's another felony, Detective Chen muttered, typing notes. Manufacturing false evidence, possible extortion charges. Rick was staring at his computer screen, scrolling through what looked like employee records. Maya, I owe you a massive apology. Looking at your actual performance metrics, customer satisfaction scores, sales numbers, punctuality record, you were one of our top servers. I should have questioned those complaints more carefully. Before I could respond, my phone rang again. This time it was Dad. I should probably take this, I said. If I keep ignoring calls, they'll get suspicious. Detective Chen nodded. Keep it normal. Don't mention anything about our investigation. Hey Dad, I answered, trying to sound tired rather than terrified. Maya, your mother called Romano's looking for you, and they said you were in a meeting with police. What's going on? My mind raced. Just some follow-up questions about the complaints that got me fired. Routine stuff. Well, that's good. Maybe they'll realize those customers were unreasonable. Dad's voice softened. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about Christmas. Chloe's been worried you might not come home because you're embarrassed about the job situation. But you know we don't think any less of you, right? The manipulation was so smooth I almost missed it. Chloe had positioned herself as the concerned sister again, while simultaneously planting the idea that I was too proud to accept help. I'll be there, Dad. Just need to wrap up some things here first. Good. Oh, and Maya. Chloe suggested we all go out for dinner tomorrow night, just family. She found this new place she thinks you'd love. Very thoughtful of her to plan something special. After I hung up, Detective Chen was watching me with sharp eyes. She's trying to control your movements. Keep you close where she can monitor the situation. The dinner's obviously a setup, I said. She probably wants to see if I'm acting suspicious, or maybe she's planning some public manipulation to make me look unstable in front of our parents. Rick stood up abruptly. I need to call our IT security team. If she accessed our system once, she might have left backdoors for future access. We could be looking at ongoing vulnerabilities. As he stepped out to make the call, Detective Chen turned to me with a serious expression. Maya, I need you to understand something. What we've uncovered here goes way beyond getting you fired. Your stepsister has demonstrated a pattern of sophisticated criminal behavior, advanced planning, and escalating control tactics. This isn't just about sibling rivalry anymore. What are you saying? I'm saying she's dangerous. And now that she knows we're investigating, she's going to get desperate. Detective Chen closed her laptop. Desperate people make unpredictable choices. My phone buzzed with one more text from Chloe. By the way, I'm making your favorite dinner tomorrow night. Can't wait to hear all about your day. Smiling face with smiling eyes. The smiley face emoji somehow made it more threatening than any angry message could have been. Detective Chen saw the text and frowned. We need to move fast. I'm going to need you to keep acting normal until we can gather enough evidence for an arrest warrant. Can you handle having dinner with her tomorrow without giving anything away? I thought about Chloe sitting across from me at the dinner table, probably planning her next move while our parents praised her thoughtfulness. The idea made my skin crawl. Yeah, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. I can handle it. But as we prepared to leave Romano's, I couldn't shake the feeling that Chloe was already 3 steps ahead of us again. I spent that evening rehearsing normalcy in front of my bathroom mirror, practicing casual responses to whatever psychological landmines Chloe might deploy at dinner. But every time I tried to imagine sitting across from her, knowing what I now knew, my hands started shaking. At 11 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Maya. The voice was female, young, scared. This is Bethany Chen, I work at Romano's. Rick gave me your number. My heart jumped. What's wrong? I'm the one who handles our online reviews and social media complaints. Rick asked me to dig deeper into the complaints against you after your meeting today. Bethany's voice was shaking. Maya, someone's been systematically attacking you online for weeks. I sat down hard on my couch. What do you mean? Fake Yelp reviews mentioning you by name. Google reviews describing specific incidents that match the complaints Rick received. Someone even created fake Facebook accounts to post in local restaurant employee groups, warning other managers about a problem server who might apply for jobs. My vision started to blur. Chloe hadn't just gotten me fired, she'd been salting the earth behind me, making sure I couldn't find work anywhere in town. The level of premeditation was staggering. There's more, Bethany continued. The IP addresses trace back to different locations, but they're all within a 5-mile radius of Romano's. Coffee shops, the public library, even the high school. Whoever did this was being really careful about not using the same internet connection twice. How far back do these reviews go? The earliest ones are from 3 weeks ago. Maya, someone's been planning this campaign for almost a month. After Bethany hung up, I sat in the dark trying to process the scope of Chloe's operation. This wasn't some impulsive act of sibling jealousy, it was a calculated assassination of my professional reputation, executed with the patience and precision of someone much older. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Chloe picked the sweetest restaurant for tomorrow. She's so excited to spend time with you. Said she has a special surprise planned. 2 hearts. A surprise. Of course she did. I was about to put my phone down when it rang again. This time it was Jessica, and she sounded panicked. Maya, something's really wrong. Chloe just left my house and she was acting completely bizarre. What happened? She came over around 10, saying she needed to use my computer for college stuff. But when I came back from getting snacks, she was on some kind of forum, posting about you. Jessica's voice cracked. Maya, she was asking for advice on how to get someone committed to a mental health facility. My blood turned to ice water. What? She was describing you as having a psychological breakdown after losing your job. Talking about erratic behavior, financial instability, family concerns about your mental state. She was trying to build a case for having you involuntarily committed. The room started spinning. If Chloe could convince our parents I was having a mental health crisis, she could potentially have me institutionalized. And given her talent for manipulation, it might actually work. When I confronted her about it, she completely lost it, Jessica continued. Started screaming about how you were trying to destroy her future, how you've been gathering evidence against her. Maya, she knows you're onto her. My phone started buzzing with rapid-fire texts from Chloe. Can't sleep. So excited for tomorrow. We're going to have the best sister talk. I have so much to tell Mom and Dad about everything. Hope you're feeling okay mentally. You've seemed really stressed lately, worried face. The last text made my skin crawl. She was already laying the groundwork for her mental health narrative, creating a digital trail of concerned sister messages. But as I stared at her texts, I realized something that made me smile despite the terror. Chloe had just made her biggest mistake yet. She tipped her hand too early. I called Detective Chen at 6 a.m. the next morning, my hands shaking as I explained Jessica's late-night revelation about the mental health forum posts. She's escalating faster than I expected, Detective Chen said grimly. Involuntary commitment requires family testimony and documented evidence of dangerous behavior. If she's researching that route, she's planning something big for today. The family dinner, I whispered. She's going to try to make me look unstable in front of our parents. Maya, I need you to wear a wire tonight. We're going to get her confession on tape. 2 hours later, I was sitting in an unmarked van outside a coffee shop while a technician fitted me with a nearly invisible recording device. Detective Chen reviewed the plan one more time. Your goal is to get her talking about the fake complaints, the computer hacking, anything that proves premeditation. Don't push too hard, let her brag. Narcissists love to explain how clever they've been. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe, getting ready for our special night. Wore your favorite color just for you, blue heart. The fake sweetness made my stomach churn, but I forced myself to text back, looking forward to it. The restaurant Chloe had chosen was upscale and intimate, the kind of place where raised voices would be immediately noticed. Smart choice for someone planning a psychological ambush. I arrived 10 minutes late, hoping to avoid any one-on-one time with her before our parents showed up. But when I walked in, only Chloe was seated at our table, looking angelic in a blue dress that matched her eyes. Maya. She jumped up to hug me, and I had to force myself not to flinch. Mom and Dad are running a few minutes behind. Dad got held up at work. Of course they were. She probably orchestrated that too. You look tired, she said as we sat down, her voice dripping with concern. Have you been sleeping okay? I know stress can really mess with your mental health. There it was, the opening move. I smiled tightly. I'm fine, Chloe. Just adjusting to some changes. Right, the job thing. She leaned forward conspiratorially. You know, I've been thinking about what happened at Romano's. Those complaints seemed so unlike you. I wonder if someone had it out for you. The audacity was breathtaking. What makes you say that? Well, you're usually so professional. For customers to complain about attitude problems and phone use. She shook her head sadly. It just seems coordinated somehow. Like someone wanted to paint you in a bad light. I felt the wire taped to my chest and forced myself to stay calm. That's an interesting theory. Any idea who would do something like that? Chloe's eyes lit up with barely contained excitement. Actually, yes. I've been doing some detective work of my own. My heart started pounding. She was about to confess, thinking she was framing someone else. I think it might have been that new server, Brandon. He's been trying to get more shifts, and getting rid of experienced staff would help his case. She pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots that looked like internal Romano's communications. I've been monitoring the situation, gathering evidence. The screenshots were fake, had to be. But they looked convincing enough to fool our parents. She'd created an elaborate alternate narrative where she was the detective and Brandon was the villain. How did you get internal restaurant communications? I asked carefully. Chloe's smile faltered for just a moment. I have my sources. The point is, I think I can prove Brandon set you up. I've been tracking his social media, cross-referencing his posts with the complaint dates. She was spiraling into her fantasy, getting more animated as she described her investigation. But something in her eyes looked desperate, almost manic. The careful control she'd maintained for weeks was starting to crack. That's very thorough of you, I said slowly. You must have spent a lot of time on this research. Family protects family, she replied, but there was an edge to her voice now. I'll do whatever it takes to clear your name, Maya. Whatever. It takes. The way she emphasized those last words made my skin crawl. This wasn't just about framing Brandon anymore, she was threatening me directly. And our parents still weren't here. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Maya, honey, we're going to be another 30 minutes. Chloe said you two needed sister time anyway. Order appetizers on us. I showed Chloe the message, watching her face carefully. Her smile was triumphant, she definitely orchestrated this delay. Perfect, she chirped. Now we can really talk. She flagged down the waiter and ordered wine, somehow producing a fake ID when he asked for mine. Don't worry, I won't tell Mom and Dad you're drinking. This is just between us sisters. The setup was so obvious it was almost insulting. Get me drinking, then paint me as unstable when our parents arrived to find me with alcohol. But I had to play along. So, Chloe said once the wine arrived, I've been thinking about your future. Community college isn't so bad, right? And living at home again will be nice. Like old times. You seem pretty confident I'm coming home. Her eyes glittered dangerously. Well, realistically, what choice do you have? No job, no money, and now with your reputation in this town. She shrugged delicately. I mean, I heard some other restaurants have already gotten complaints about you. My blood chilled. She was admitting to sabotaging my job prospects, but in a way that sounded like she was just sharing gossip. What kind of complaints? Oh, you know. The usual stuff about attitude problems, unprofessional behavior. Word travels fast in the service industry. She took a sip of wine, watching me over the rim of her glass. But don't worry, once you're home, we can work on rebuilding your image. I have some ideas. The wire felt like it was burning against my skin. She was confessing while simultaneously threatening me, creating a perfect loop of plausible deniability. You've really thought this through, I said carefully. I'm a planner. Always have been. Chloe leaned back in her chair, looking satisfied. You know, Maya, I used to resent you when Dad first married your mom. This perfect older stepsister with her own apartment and college plans. But I've realized something, we're better as a team. A team. With your struggles and my academic success, we balance each other out. Mom and Dad get to feel good about helping their troubled daughter while being proud of their achiever. It's actually perfect. The casual cruelty of it made my hands shake. She'd reduced my entire life to a supporting role in her personal narrative. What if I don't want to play along? I asked. Chloe's smile turned cold. Well, that would be unfortunate. Especially with your mental health seeming so fragile lately. She pulled out her phone and showed me a social media post I'd never seen before, apparently from my own Instagram account. The post was a rambling, incoherent rant about feeling watched and persecuted by unnamed enemies. It sounded like the desperate ravings of someone having a breakdown. Except I'd never written it. How did you? Oh, Maya. Her voice was sickeningly sweet. You really should use stronger passwords. Romano 2023 foot was pretty obvious. She scrolled through more posts she'd apparently made from my account, increasingly erratic messages about paranoia, financial stress, and family pressure. My Instagram had been turned into a digital diary of mental instability, backdated over several weeks. Anyone looking at it would think I'd been spiraling for a month. You hacked my social media. I prefer managed your online presence. And honestly, some of your real posts were concerning enough. I just enhanced the narrative. Chloe was practically glowing with self-satisfaction. Mom and Dad are going to be so worried when they see how you've been struggling in private. The restaurant around us felt like it was closing in. She hadn't just stolen my job and sabotaged my reputation, she'd hijacked my entire digital identity to build a case for my incompetence. The best part, she continued, is that when you try to deny posting these things, it'll just make you look more unstable. Classic paranoid behavior, claiming someone else is controlling your accounts. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom, running even later, sweetie. Emergency at Dad's office. You girls have fun catching up. Red heart. Chloe glanced at the message and her smile widened. Looks like we have even more time to chat. But as she reached for her wine glass, I noticed her hands were trembling slightly. For all her confidence, she was nervous about something. And suddenly I realized what, she was waiting for something else to happen. This dinner wasn't the main event, it was just the opening act. Maya, you seem tense, Chloe said, her voice dripping with false concern. Maybe you should slow down on the wine. I hadn't touched my glass, but she'd already finished hers and was signaling for another. The tremor in her hands was getting worse, and she kept checking her phone like she was waiting for something specific. Are you expecting a call? I asked. Just keeping an eye on social media. You never know when something important might happen. She showed me her phone screen, where she had multiple apps open, Instagram, Twitter, even what looked like a police scanner app. I like to stay informed about local news. A chill ran down my spine. Why would she be monitoring police activity during our family dinner? Chloe, what's really going on here? Her mask slipped for just a second, revealing something almost manic underneath. What do you mean? We're just having a nice sister dinner while we wait for Mom and Dad. But her phone kept buzzing with notifications, and each time it did, her smile got a little more strained. Finally, she glanced at a message and her face went completely pale. Everything okay? I pressed. Of course. But her voice cracked slightly. Actually, Maya, I should probably mention something before Mom and Dad get here. There might be some developments regarding your situation at Romano's. My blood turned to ice. What kind of developments? Well, I heard through the grapevine that they're investigating some irregularities in their computer system. Employee portal being accessed inappropriately, that sort of thing. She was speaking faster now, the words tumbling out. If someone was using your login credentials without permission, it could look really bad. The setup was becoming clear. She'd hacked Romano's system using my credentials, and now she was preparing to throw me under the bus for her own crimes. The dinner wasn't about making me look unstable, it was about establishing an alibi while the evidence trail led back to me. That's terrible, I said carefully. I hope they find whoever really did it. Chloe's phone buzzed again, and this time when she read the message, she looked genuinely panicked. Her breathing became shallow and rapid. I need to use the restroom, she stammered, grabbing her purse and practically running toward the back of the restaurant. The moment she was gone, I pulled out my own phone and texted Detective Chen, something's wrong. She's panicking about police activity. I think something's happening right now. The response came immediately, stay calm. We're executing search warrants at your parents' house and her school locker. She probably just got a tip from someone. My heart stopped. They were searching our family home right now, while our parents thought they were just running late to dinner. Chloe must have someone monitoring police scanners or social media for any signs of investigation. When she returned from the bathroom, her makeup was smudged and her hands were shaking uncontrollably. She'd clearly been crying. Maya, we need to leave. Right now. What? Why? There's been some kind of misunderstanding. The police are at Mom and Dad's house, and I think. She was hyperventilating now. I think someone's been feeding them false information about both of us. The irony was stunning. After weeks of systematic manipulation, Chloe was finally experiencing the terror she'd been inflicting on me. False information about what? About the restaurant thing, about computer hacking, about. She was spiraling now, her carefully constructed control completely gone. Maya, I think someone's trying to frame us both. We have to get our stories straight before this gets out of hand. My phone rang. Dad's contact photo filled the screen, but when I answered, it was Detective Chen's voice. Maya, are you still with your stepsister? Yes. Good. Don't let her leave. We have some questions for both of you. I looked across the table at Chloe, who was frantically texting someone while tears streamed down her face. Her perfect plan was collapsing in real time, and she was finally realizing that being too clever might have been her biggest mistake of all. The hunter was about to become the hunted, and she knew it. Chloe's phone buzzed one final time, and when she read the message, her face crumpled completely. They found everything, she whispered. The fake accounts, the edited photos, the forum posts about mental health commitments. I felt a surge of satisfaction mixed with something that might have been pity. It's over, Chloe. You don't understand. She grabbed my arm across the table, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my skin. I was protecting our family. You were going to ruin everything, taking money that should go to my college fund, stealing attention from my applications, making Mom and Dad worry about finances when they should be focused on my future. The raw honesty was startling. No more manipulation, no more fake concern, just pure, venomous entitlement. So you destroyed my life instead. I was fixing things. Putting them back the way they should be. Her voice was getting louder, drawing stares from other diners. You were supposed to come home quietly, accept community college, and stop competing with me for everything. Maya. Detective Chen's voice came from behind me as she approached our table. 2 uniformed officers flanked her. I think we've heard enough. Chloe's eyes darted between the officers and me, finally understanding that I'd been wearing a wire. You recorded me. Everything, I confirmed. The fake complaints, the hacking, the social media manipulation, the plan to have me committed. All of it. Chloe Martinez, Detective Chen said formally, you're under arrest for computer fraud, identity theft, cyberstalking, and conspiracy to file false reports. As the officers read Chloe her rights, she looked at me with something that might have been genuine confusion. I don't understand why you're doing this. We're family. Family doesn't systematically destroy each other, I replied quietly. The restaurant had gone completely silent as they led Chloe away in handcuffs. Her perfect blue dress was wrinkled now, her careful makeup streaked with tears. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked exactly her age, 17 and completely out of her depth. 2 hours later, I sat in my parents' living room while Mom and Dad processed what Detective Chen had just explained to them. The coffee table was covered with printed screenshots, police reports, and evidence of Chloe's elaborate deception campaign. The college applications were fake too, Detective Chen continued gently. She missed most of the deadlines and had been using photo editing software to alter her report cards for months. The boyfriend, the sneaking out, the vaping, your daughter had been living a completely different life than what she showed you. Dad sat with his head in his hands. We trusted her completely. How did we miss all of this? Because she's exceptionally skilled at manipulation, I said softly. Even I didn't realize how deep it went until this week. Mom reached over and squeezed my hand. Maya, I'm so sorry. We should have questioned those job complaints, should have supported you better. You couldn't have known. 3 months later, I was back at Romano's, not as a server, but as assistant manager. Rick had offered me the promotion along with a formal apology and a raise that more than covered my tuition needs. The fake reviews had been removed, and several other restaurants in town had reached out with job offers once word spread about what had really happened. Chloe was serving 6 months in juvenile detention followed by 2 years of probation. The college fund our parents had saved for her went toward paying restitution to Romano's for their security upgrades and covering the legal fees from her victims, including me. On Christmas morning, I sat around our tree with just Mom and Dad. It was quieter than usual, tinged with sadness for how everything had unfolded. But there was also something peaceful about it, no more walking on eggshells, no more hidden agendas, no more perfect golden child casting shadows over the rest of us. I got you something, Dad said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a check for the full amount of my spring tuition and a note, for our daughter who never needed fixing. Sometimes the truth really does set you free.